What's up, everyone? There's no sugarcoating it, no way around it. You picked a fantastic week to show up because this is our sex talk. This isn't the first time you've heard about sex or the word sex. Second, sex is a thing that we tend to whisper about or talk behind closed doors in dark or in the DMs. And lastly, before we jump in, when it comes to things that are good and powerful, like money, like sex, like your health, like the future, all kinds of good and powerful things, isn't it true that you want to approach them with a plan instead of waking up one day unsure of how you got where you're at? So that's what we're gonna do here in this conversation. This week, hold on to your phones. We're talking about how, when it comes to sex, technology is good and powerful. We're gonna focus on one of the most sexualized aspects of technology, and that is pornography. First, we have to acknowledge something important about technology. And technology is good. At the same time, technology can be really difficult to manage. There's so much potential for good and so much potential for bad. And sometimes, some of us, not all of us, think we can handle more than we actually can. And that brings us to the next part of our sex talk. Now, the authors who wrote the Bible didn't know about the technology that we would have today, but they did have something to say about the topics that we're covering or the challenging things that those create. We read the Bible because we aren't the first people to experience the challenges that we face. Others have faced them before us. And looking back at how they handled it can help us see how to handle it moving forward. So there's a guy that we tend to talk about a lot in church, and his name's Paul. He was one of the central figures in getting the church started. We talk about him a lot because he was responsible for writing a significant portion of the New Testament. One of those letters was to a church in a town named Corinth. Think of New York City or Los Angeles. It was also a very sexual culture, kind of like our culture today. And in the midst of that, the Apostle Paul said this: flee from sexual immorality. You know that flee basically means to run away, like really run away. What is sexual immorality? Sexual immorality is acting in a way that doesn't line up with what God says is best when it comes to sex. On the other hand, integrity is when your actions match what you believe. That's why you'll hear us use the phrase sexual integrity. So, sexual integrity means respecting yourself and others when it comes to intimacy. The idea can change the way that we look at porn. Sexual content is all around us. And here's what you and I know. It's impossible to spend time around something and not be affected by it. Paul continues, all other sins a person commits are outside the body, but whoever sins sexually sins against their own body. Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. You are bought at a price. Therefore, honor God with your bodies. Now, in this passage, Paul talks a lot about the potential negative impact of sexual immorality. But that's because he's placed such a high value on the way our bodies are connected to sex. Sex can affect so many areas of our lives, our futures, our mental health, the quality of our relationships. So God must have designed it intentionally. To be clear, desiring another person in a sexual way is common. Being curious about sex is good, and it's okay. We are sexual beings, and it's okay to have sexual desire, be curious about sex, and be attracted to other people. That's why when it comes to sex and technology, 1, technology is a poor substitute for real sexual connection. 2, technology is a poor education tool for sex. And 3, technology makes it easier to treat people worse. This isn't a knock against sexual desires or technology. This is about what's best for you, for your future, and what's honorable for your body. Think of it this way: technology is good and technology is powerful. When we turn to technology to satisfy our sexual desires, it leads us away from sexual integrity. And that's the exact opposite of what we want. So what does sexual integrity look like in the area of technology? Well, what would it look like for you to run away from sexual immorality, to flee from? What part of sexual integrity do you need to intentionally move in the direction of? Technology is good and it's powerful. Maybe today it's time for us to consider if there's more power to technology than we may have thought possible. You can see God working when you choose sexual integrity and experience God helping you live that out.